here, buddy.
Here it is.
Tucker, you want to get in on this, buddy? Get in here. I want to hug you like.
Oh, look at that.
I want to hug you like Jalen hugged his dad.
I don't even wear
I
cologne.
would have gone that long if possible.
That was a long hug.
That was a long. That was a lot of emotion in that.
A well-earned hug.
Elliot's back. We did it, guys. We won the freaking Super Bowl. All right,
it feels good to be home.
Right? All right. We feel like we hadn't seen
it. It is burning hot.
Tucker and I were just talking how much we missed you.
I miss you guys too.
Hey, hello. It is the Go Birds podcast presented by the Bet Parks Casino and Sportsbook app. A championship podcast back together.
There it is.
Day 37. By the way, we Tucker forgot Brian Westbrook yesterday on day 36. Like a horrible job.
No one said it. What that was the whole.
No, it was exactly. We said Jay Ajayi from the Super Bowl, but like
wow.
Bad.
Well, Jay Ajayi feels appropriate.
It's a good one, but still, I mean, forgot Brian Westbrook. Bad job by us.
To defend myself, I said Westbrook Day when we previewed the pod.
Okay, so we'll take that to start. So not great.
Still should say it on the pod.
All that matters. We're going till the parade. All right, the next 2 days, we're just gonna keep rolling, and then we all get to celebrate a parade down Broad Street. Eliot Shorr-Parks, he's back. I'm so happy.
We were texting this morning. I didn't even know we were doing a pod today.
Yeah, but Elliot's like, "Oh, pod, okay, sure."
But I do think
now we're doing them tomorrow and the next day too. Like, why not?
So I said, I think from now on, when they win the Super Bowl, the daily pods go to the parade.
I think it's great.
And it was funny when I texted, I was thinking like, when they win the Super Bowl, like it could happen. That could happen twice in the next 5 years. Like it's not like a crazy thing. It's not like we're
we can talk about it.
A
that
Browns
way now.
pod, and it's like So yeah, I mean, I'm just happy to be back. I feel like we haven't had a chance to like really talk on air.
Yeah, I mean, most of our conversation
the
was you
post-game
walking
pod
to
was
the
crazy.
Locker room,
yeah,
you know?
That didn't work out the way.
No, dude, for people watching the video, it was the highlight. Just the
was it really?
You were striding around with. People loved the journey to get
Okay,
in.
cool. I'm glad
it
you
ended up the stadium at one point.
Dude, let me tell you.
Someone was looking over my shoulder like, is he on a sidewalk? Like, it looks like he left.
There was 30 seconds where I was thinking, I'm not going to be there. Because the people, so here's the thing about doing this, since we're going to talk about it. Like, you ask somebody, and you can immediately tell if they know what they're talking about. And one person said to me, go this way outside and make a right. And at that moment, I'm like, that just feels wrong. But it worked. It was correct. And what's crazy is I wish I would have known this, but I ended up just standing for like 20 minutes waiting to get in. So I could have stayed longer. But yeah, the journey was crazy. And it was cool to see all the Eagles fans.
It was awesome. And I was just talking. I knew you couldn't hear me. So
I couldn't hear a single thing.
I just kept going. And
in retrospect, I should have wore AirPods. That would have been cool. But we'll know for next year.
Next year. Yeah, that's right. I like what you did next
year.
Yeah. And obviously we'll get into so much of it. And I just, it's pretty special being in this room together. I mean, with the three of us, how much time we've spent in this room doing this thing with everyone for the last 37 days.
I mean, probably almost 2 straight days.
Yeah, like when you really think about it. And it's like, and now we're in this room and this whole thing that we've been building towards, and obviously the team's building towards, the fan base, the whole thing, like it happened, man. Like we won the Super Bowl. We kicked the crap out of Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid in the Super Bowl. We have an all-time great team to talk about. We have everyone nationally has to give us our due. Like everyone has to talk about this unbelievable Eagles team that whooped ass. Like it's so fulfilling. Like I feel so joyful and so fulfilled and so proud. And it just feels like it's all the fandom, the time, all of it. It's worth it. It's worth it for now, man.
When you were talking about all the time we spent, I was thinking of the daily pods. But it's one thing for us to sit in here throughout the season after big wins. The Rams win, all the big wins they had. The Washington win on Thursday night. And for us to go, I think they're going to win the Super Bowl.
Totally.
I think they're going to do it. Like, how many times do we say, they're the best team in the NFC? Or like, maybe you have to give it to the Lions, but they're obviously the best. Or like and they did it. Like, that's the crazy thing, And I also, I've had so many thoughts, obviously. First of all, I am at a place in my life, and I feel like everybody's feeling this. There is no limit to the amount of Eagles content I will.
Oh my God. Everything.
Every single video, every single tweet.
Pictures. Every picture. So Emily and I have just been saying, you're a big, hang with Kristen, scrolling your phone.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'm not. Emily is don't do that.
Yeah.
Emily and I have just been sitting there scrolling our
it's
phones.
Impossible. Every single one.
We're sitting there silent, just looking. I'm like, look at this. Check out this video. This is so cool.
And the other cool thing is, I feel like after a big Eagles win in a regular season, we mostly see everything within a few hours. Like, right?
Oh, it's such a good point.
There is no limit to it. Like, it won't
and there's
stop.
more coming, which is so
That's what I'm saying.
Like, think about, I was saying this the other day, but think about like 2017, like we didn't even know about like the background with the Philly special until the Mic'd Up came out. Was like weeks later or whatever that was. It's like, oh my God, Nick Foles went up and asked him, and they did, like, we didn't even know about that in the moment. Like, who knows the kind of content and the stuff that's coming, and we're gonna find out. And it's like we use this analogy too much, but it's because it's so perfect. I feel like a kid on Christmas with all this stuff. It's like, everything, give it to me. I want it all.
Well, the crazy thing is, I probably slept a total of 2.5 hours from when I woke up Sunday morning to when I went to bed Monday night, right? And I kept saying to myself once I got home, like, go to sleep. Like, but I couldn't. I kept scrolling. Like, every time I put my phone down, I felt like I was missing something.
Me too.
Like something else was gonna happen.
Like, you could not be saying how I felt more.
But the other thing too is, what's been fun about it is, like, so this morning for the first time, I saw a clip of Jalen talking after the game at the podium. Like, I'm always at Jalen after the podium. So for me to not see this for 40 is like crazy, right? But you actually heard like emotion in his voice, and he's talking about, like, someone asked him, I'm paraphrasing, like, you lost Super Bowl before, you got benched, you got benched in the championship game before, you've always been undercounted. What does it feel like? Like, it was the question that I've been waiting to see how Jalen would respond to for 2 years. And he responded, and it was awesome. Like, you can hear the emotion in his voice. At one point, it sounded like he was going to cry. He talked about, like, the journey and all, like, and I just kept thinking, like, God, that guy deserves it.
Oh.
And, you know, we have these figures in, like, our lives. For me and you have said this when they drafted Jalen Carter, I think it was. We're like, we're going to talk about Jalen Carter so much over the next year. There's probably not 10 humans in my life, like, including Kristen, my mom, my dad, Jude, Sadie, that, like, I have talked about more than Jalen.
I mean,
Hurts.
how many, like, we've probably said the name Jalen Hurts as much as we've said any name in our lifetime. Like,
100%. And so to watch him have that moment, and I don't have like a super, super close relationship with Jalen, but like, I'm around him a lot. Like, we know each other. And so to see him have that, like, I know everybody's had their opinion on Jalen, and rightfully so. Like, the career of a player over 4 years has ups and downs.
Especially the quarterback of the
Especially the
Philadelphia
quarterback
Eagles.
position.
It's always going to happen.
So if you're listening to this and you were somebody that was in week 7, 8, 9, like, they can't do it with them, like, I get it. I don't think you were being overly critical. I don't think you were being a hater. But there is something cool about watching somebody overachieve. Like, not overachieve. About
achieve what they worked
exactly.
for.
Yeah, right? And say what you will about Jalen and, like, the lack of emotion at times, whatever. That dude, his entire life was about winning the Super Bowl.
Defined by it. He said it. He said in that interview with the SI with Greg Bishop, he's like, I am defined by football.
And
like, I'm talking about him, Greg
him and Tom Brady.
The only two who admitted to that. It defines everything for them.
And for him to accomplish that moment, like, how can you not love it? Like, forget the fact that it's sports, just anything. Totally. Like, someone who has wanted something so bad,
worked so hard for
and experienced failure at it.
Totally.
Like, all of us experience failure in life, but there is something unique with sports about playing in the game and failing.
And
that
also,
way,
and not just that, doing it in front of hundreds of millions of people.
And having everybody talk about it.
He had his biggest failure moment in front of the entire world.
Multiple times.
Yes.
He was benched in the championship
multiple times.
And so for him to win it, like, and we haven't had a chance to talk about postgame. Seeing Jalen in the postgame locker room.
Seeing him, I think the one, then obviously a lot of people have pointed out, but I think the picture that will live forever, and there are a few, like them all, the trophy, there's a bunch of stuff, but him sitting with the cigar in his mouth and the trophy between his legs, like that is a picture that if you've been through this ride with him, like we have, like you feel the picture.
Well, keep this in mind. We haven't even seen the picture. We've seen pictures of him taking the picture. We haven't seen the straight on.
No, you're right. We've seen it from the side,
right? We only see like the ones the reporters took. But being in the locker,
such a good point.
You know, so we haven't even seen like the one that's gonna like live on forever.
Yeah, you're right.
But seeing him in the locker room, just like the smiling, the hugging,
it's the happiest I've ever seen him.
Yeah, and rightfully so.
Yeah, of course, it's nice to see after all the like, oh, can he be happy? Can he this and that? Like, yeah, you're damn right.
And it sounds crazy to say as a 37-year-old talking about a 25-year-old.
I know,
but like now I should say I understand like why he was never the emotional guy. You know, like he was singularly focused on this. And I said that about this team. Like I've since being around.
Yeah,
team,
this
like,
was your biggest.
This is what it was all about.
That was your
right?
biggest thing. Like before when we did the shows before, like that was I was like, what are you feeling the most right now? And you were like, this team is
ready.
Like, yeah. So, but seeing Jalen like not even let loose, because like, let me tell you, compared to some of the other players, he was.
Oh, he's nothing. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
like even Saquon was like losing his mind, like
Dude,
doing shotguns and all that stuff.
Saquon, clearly a Penn State guy.
Oh,
like
buddy,
that dude.
I was like,
that dude
you
is
know how to
party.
party,
The
dude.
fact he's in such good shape and parties that way is pretty admirable. But like, yeah, Jalen just like, I mean, his fiance was there. You can tell him and Brandon Graham have a very special bond.
Clearly,
like, that was very clear in the locker room. And just like, I've had a lot of like big picture things I've felt, but like one of the things I've felt the most since the Super Bowl is a happiness for Jalen.
Yeah.
Like we have all been critical of Jalen at certain points, but one thing we have consistently said is the view I have from being around him is he has a good moral compass. Like, I think there are athletes I've covered where I'm like, maybe not like him. Yes. And like, he deserves it. He deserves
without a doubt. Just the work and the effort and the way he goes about his business, that alone deserves it. But to your point, like, and I think that, and you've said it, I'll say it, like the discussion about like all this, like, where's he ranked? It's over. Like, he's number 2. It goes Mahomes, then Hurts. And if you want to fight for Allen or Lamar or whatever, like, fine. If you want to say there's a top 5 of Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, Lamar, and Hurts in any order, whatever, fine. He's there.
Yeah,
like, he is in without a doubt, dude. Like, what he has done. And I think, like, I go back to something I've always talked about, and anyone who listens to this pod for a long time knows, and it's part of the reason why I've always been higher on Jalen than a lot of people, and I believed in him. But like, when you have the above the shoulder stuff that this guy has as
100%.
a quarterback in the NFL, you're going to get better.
Yeah.
You're going to improve. You're going to continue to get better, and you're going to achieve. And that's what this guy has done. Like, he is continually gotten better. The stuff he did with recognition, the blitz, all this stuff this year, like, he was a master. I mean, you talk like all the people who know what they're seeing with that type of stuff are like, you don't understand what Jalen did in the Super Bowl. Like, he controlled the football game with his mind.
Well,
with his mind, dude. And that's Brady. That's like the stuff that we like. I like, not my thing with Jalen is not only is he like top 2, top 5, whatever you want to say, like, he's getting better. I think we have not seen the best of Jalen Hurts yet.
Well, I do think Sunday, when I rewatched the game on Monday, and that was the other thing where I'm like, Eliot, go to sleep. And I'm like, no, I know. I want to rewatch
it yesterday.
But like, just the calmness he played with. I mean, he was in complete control. And like, I don't know what's happening pre-snap all the time, obviously, but like, you could just see pre-snap. Like, this dude had the answers to the test.
He knew exactly where to go with the ball right away. But both the last 2 games, he was just like decisive, like knew what he was seeing and knew where to go.
And as good as the defense was, and they were.
Like, they really were.
The tough thing is,
really were.
I do think the thing on the field I'll remember the most about the game is the defense. But like, I think if the defense had a bad game,
Jalen still could have won it.
I think
I agree with you.
If they had to win the game 45-40, they would have won the game 45-40.
I agree with you.
If they had to win it 55-50, like, they were not going to stop Jalen. And when I watched the game again, it was just clear from like the first throw. Like, it's a small thing, but his first throw to Devontae is just like a laser. Right to him, right? Like, every throw was on point. And that's the thing too. I know that, look, Jalen went up against an easier defense than Mahomes did. No question about it. But Mahomes got rattled.
Well, you went into this game talking about Chris Jones and
no, I agree.
Reed,
yeah,
like,
no, that's true too.
I mean? Like, let's not forget
but it's just
that.
with how well the Eagles defense
I know
played.
I agree, and I said I thought the Eagles D going in was a way better D, but like, it's still a talented Chiefs D.
For sure, 100%.
Like, the Chiefs D was more responsible for them being there than the offense was.
100%. But like, Mahomes missed throws. Like, there were throws to be made.
He was rattled.
He was bad. He was bad.
It was like, to make. When you think about it, and my favorite stat, and there have been so many, my favorite stat that was the first game all season, any team all season, the whole year, didn't cross midfield in their first 9 drives.
That's pretty crazy.
Think about that stat.
Yeah.
Let's never forget the Chiefs had 6 points with 2 minutes and 55 seconds left on the clock in the game.
Yeah.
In the football game.
Dude.
Like, those points were meaningless. And like, this was a number 1 defense going in, and not just validating being the number 1 defense for the year. It was validating we're one of the best defenses of all time for a season. For a single season, they are one of the best defenses of all time. And that's most sacks ever in his career. They sacked him 6 times. He's never been sacked that many times. Like, think about it. If you're Patrick Mahomes, where you're going into that game, going for a 3-peat, people are talking about you as already being better than Brady, being the best ever. And they made him look like he didn't know how to play the position. Like, that's crazy.
Dude, I think it was almost like like Mahomes' legacy took a hit that day.
Dude, Brady, all that talk, Brady is number one. And I didn't put Mahomes ahead of him yet. When we did on the show, Rhea, John, and Joe all said Mahomes the best ever. I'm like, no way.
That's where I was at. Yeah.
Brady, and look, Brady never had a Super like that. Like,
that's what I'm saying.
Brady he never looked lost like that.
100%. And I also think, like, there's not an offense in the history of the NFL that was doing something to the Eagles defense.
I agree.
When I rewatched the game, they just, and I almost feel disrespectful saying this because it is professional athletes, like, they punked them.
They did? No, say it.
It was like
they punked them.
They completely just beat them up.
Dude, we're not the biggest stat nerds. We like stats. We appreciate them. But like the stat nerds love EPA, right? Like that's the thing. In his career, 7 years, that was the second worst game by EPA that Mahomes ever played.
I'm shocked he has a worse one.
But it was in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, come on, man. And the Eagles did that. It wasn't that he just played bad. The Eagles made him play.
Well, and what's crazy is they punked the Chiefs in a way they didn't really punk anybody else all year.
Emily said, I saw other people say it was the most stress-free game of the year. Like, it's crazy.
It was funny. At one point in the game, I turned to like Bo Wolf, who I was sitting next to, and I was like, this is kind of boring in a way. Like, it's obviously not. I'm at the Super Bowl. They're about to win it. But I look over, I'm like,
totally. The whole fourth quarter was anticlimactic.
Like almost zoned out for like a little bit.
The Chiefs were doing garbage time at the end. They were like strolling up the line. Like, it was like a joke.
Well, and so this is the other thing. So we do the post-game pod. And I thought, like, the moment when the game ended, it was almost a little anticlimactic in person. Because first of all, like, 20% of the stadium was gone because the Chiefs fans left. And a lot of the casual fans left. Like, the game was over at, like, midway through the third or whatever.
Didn't even know. The game was over in the second quarter.
Yeah, well,
we just didn't know it at
honestly,
the time.
What we didn't know and what I'm mad I missed on, and is now very clear, that game was over before it started.
Yeah, it was.
Let's just, like, and I know you can say that about games sometimes, but it was just clear the difference in the mentality of those two teams. And first,
I always talk about that with football. Like, the one team just wanted it way more, and we're way more ready for it than the other.
And as critical as people will be of Nick and his emotion at times, Andy Reid was lifeless on the sideline. Where I was sitting,
old school Andy with the time management and the not running the ball.
Where I was sitting, I had a better view of the Chiefs sideline because I was on the opposite side of the field. He was lifeless. And you could see in the way those two teams played, one team showed up like their head coach, or both teams did. One had emotion, was angry, was ready to go, and I don't you say the S word, but because I guess it's a curse word, even though I don't think it is. But they just beat up the other team, and part of it's because Andy looked like he didn't care. Well, honestly, the vibe I got is the Chiefs were disinterested.
They were ready to go. And they were like, wow, this team is really
good. We want nothing more of this.
And that's a good segue because, you started with Jalen. I think I'm happy for all of them. I mean, BG coming back and Vic Fangio first time in 30 years. And I want to get to someone else I'm happy for. We haven't talked about enough, but I think, like, at the top of the mountain, and we always say it, the two most criticized, two most critiqued, whatever you want to say, people in this city will always, forever, for the rest of time, be the Eagles head coach and the Eagles quarterback. And I'm happy for Jalen, and I'm happy for our guy, Nick Sirianni.
For sure.
Because to your point, one team looked brilliantly coached. One team outmaneuvered, outclassed, out-physicaled, out-readied the other team, and it was Nick Sirianni's team against Andy Reid. And when you think about 2 years ago what happened in the Super Bowl, to go back and avenge what he did, and just the year that Nick Sirianni had, obviously with the public criticism for him and all that, like, that's one thing, and to keep it together. But to take this team, who last year, the biggest collapse in the history of the franchise, and the start of the year, and to navigate that and get it to the point where these guys were quoting all of his stuff because they all actually loved each other and they believe in each other and they played for the guy next to them and all that, like, stuff that, like, seems so hokey or whatever, that these guys were 100% bought into everything this guy did. They love this dude.
Yeah.
He built a culture and a team, and you know what he did? He freaking led men. He is a leader of men. He's the best coach in the history of this franchise. No doubt, Jalen Hurts, the best quarterback in the history of the franchise. Like, inarguable, in my opinion. I said Foles is the best quarterback in the history of the franchise. Like, it's inarguable.
It's Nick and Jalen.
Like, I am so happy for Nick. And one thing that stood out to me, and I thought this was really cool, I don't know if you saw this, when Jalen was interviewed by Brady after the game as Brady's player of the game, which is really fun just to watch Brady and Jalen talking about, you beat Mahomes, pretty cool.
Yeah.
But Jalen was talking about, Nick, Tom was like, what does it mean to you type of question or whatever, and he's like, talking about it. And he's like, he thanks God and he does the thing. And then he gets to, he's like, and he's like, It's about getting, with the exact phrasing he used, but he's like, yeah, when people buy into, what you're doing and your whatever, and he's like, and coaches.
Yeah.
And he threw it, and it was like something where it was like, it's like he didn't have to do that. He was just talking about himself, and he made it that it was him and coach. And that was something like we know what this season, what we've gone through with that.
For sure.
Like it just, the way Nick, and you said it in the moment, and we talked about it prior to that. We were like, Nick's got to figure this out. This is on Nick to figure this out with Jalen. Like whatever it is, like you got to figure it out. And like to figure it out the way he did, like this guy is like, in terms of human dynamics and relationships, he's one of the best I've ever seen.
Well, I mean, he's the best coach I've seen in Phillies. Like Charlie Manuel, I think also up there in terms of like culture building, but like for sure. I mean, the other thing too, like if we want to take a lesson, like if you take a lesson away from Jalen, it's like just work really hard. Yeah, exactly. Like I think there's like lessons to teach your kids about what Jalen
hard work, perseverance, and focus, all that.
And I quickly side note, like it's funny how Jalen goes from like, maybe he's not the guy to like, you couldn't build a better quarterback if you tried. And like, that's the mode he's in right now. Especially off the field, like the way he represents the team and everything. But with Nick Sirianni too, scheme matters. I'm not saying it doesn't matter. They had to fix their, like,
look, Vic's scheme was a big reason they won,
Exactly. But like, when you think of what Nick's like 3 things were during this run, tough detail together.
That's what
the toughness, like, I don't care what scheme Spags had Andy had dialed up that day. They were not going to beat the Eagles. The Eagles simply just hit them time and time again, and it didn't matter. And like, that's what I think. Like, I've been watching that clip a lot of where Kelsey gets up and Chauncey like standing, and then Jalen Carter comes up to him, and like you could just tell. I think that was like the 3rd play of the game. Like it was over. They were the tougher team, and from being around Nick this past year, and I think it really this year kind of hit Nick a little more than it has in the past because he heard all offseason about how, they took the offense from him and it's not his scheme.
What do you do here, right?
Right, exactly.
I mean, like, let's go back to that. The best coach in the history of franchise, Super Bowl winning coach, was asked in the preseason, what do you do here?
And it was a fair question.
No, it was a very fair question. It was in the moment. Yeah.
But like,
it was the question people wanted to have asked in the moment.
But I think what Nick has heard about why, it's kind of like Jalen with the passing yards, honestly. Like Jalen is viewed as not a top 5 guy by some, and that was pre-Super Bowl, like because he doesn't pass it enough. Nick has heard he's not enough good enough head coach or with the up there of the McVays and the Shanahans because he doesn't call the plays and it's not his scheme. But what we learned in this Super Bowl was like what Nick does is more valuable than what those guys do. You can find amen. Like you can find guys that have schemes. And honestly, the Eagles will find one this offseason.
I agree.
Right? But you can't, it's harder to find guys that can have their team show up in the Super Bowl like that. And like, he's ahead of Dan Campbell, obviously. Like Dan Campbell's team mostly kind of no-showed in that game.
This is no question.
Yeah.
He's ahead of Kyle Shanahan. He's ahead of like McVay, like, and shout out to McVay. Maybe making himself his way on a Sirianni Island. With
for real. I think everyone's trying to get on Sirianni.
He was like, but he was right. He's like, this is the most disrespected guy in the league. Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
Like, and again, just the fact that Nick's been to 2 Super Bowls in 3 years and he won one in a game where his team absolutely pantsed one of the 2 greatest coaches of all time and arguably the greatest defensive coordinator of all time. Like,
I mean, think about this.
What more does the guy have to do?
The Eagles have played the Chiefs for 8 quarters in the Super Bowl, and they have embarrassed them for 6 of them.
Yeah.
If it's not for that collapse in the second half, they would have played arguably the best quarterback and head coach of all time. But maybe, I mean, they're not viewed that way if they don't win the last one. But they play the second best, whatever.
Look, there's still time
and
for that. I mean, like
they did lose 22-6 in the 4th quarter.
Are you talking about this one?
Yeah.
That's bad. He's kidding.
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. I thought you were being
serious. You way too seriously. Yeah. I knew that was a
well, the thing I've been
can't forget about the Mahomes comeback.
Yeah, exactly. That's true.
Phenomenal.
Well, I saw a tweet today, and it was the Mahomes throw to Xavier Worthy for a touchdown.
Yeah, it was like,
and it was like this is one of the best throws in Super Bowl history, and it's like it is a sick throw, but what are we talking about?
The NFL did publish a Pat Mahomes Super Bowl highlight video.
Well, I am not the biggest Jimmy Fallon fan, but did you guys see what he did? It was really funny. He's like, all right, we're going to go, like, congratulations to the Chiefs on a great season. Let's play their Super Bowl highlights. And he played them winning the coin toss. And that was it was hilarious.
Yeah, but that was kind of it.
It was all downhill from there.
Even like the first drive, the Chiefs are on a 3rd and 9. And the Eagles immediately collapse the pocket on Mahomes. He like rolls out He escapes.
And we're thinking he's going to do something magical here.
And Jalen Carter gets to him. And that's the other thing, too, that stood out. The Eagles played with a level of effort the Chiefs did not play with.
Totally.
They just chased the Chiefs more. Like, and, again, I don't want to completely diminish the scheme because I'm sure that there were things.
It mattered. And that's actually been to the point of like listening to as much content and whatever. Like the stuff that I've heard about, like I heard Trent Dilfer. I've heard some people who like were really breaking down the scheme stuff. And apparently the Eagles really, like, simplistically just pants.
Reed. And
like, scheme wise too.
And look, it makes it easier to be the tougher team when your scheme puts you in the right place. Like, I get that. But it's just like the lasting image I'll have of the Super Bowl is the image of Milton Williams stripping Patrick Mahomes
and Jalen Carter
while Jalen Carter hits him in the face. And I was thinking, like, is it a flag on Jalen Carter?
Maybe.
Sure. Who cares?
Yeah.
Like, that was
they were watching the ball. The rest didn't even see it.
Exactly.
They're watching the balls out.
Yeah, it was. I mean, Milton Williams was awesome.
Williams.
Jalix Hunt, like, unbelievable. Like, it was the perfect game. It was such a perfect game in the way I don't think there's a signature play. I tried to rank them on the.
It's the Coop. It will.
I think it's Coop.
And
you
talked
too.
on the air. It's because, like, I mean, a pick six in the Super Bowl alone is such a rarity, and it's the first one the Eagles have ever had. I think the first defensive touchdown in Eagles Super Bowl history, right? I mean, I can't think of another. Yeah. So I think it'll be that, and on his birthday, and also, especially in hindsight, we didn't want to say it in the moment, but in hindsight, that was when the game was over. So I think it'll be that, but I'm with you. It's not like we had the Philly special and the BG play are like
because the game was closer
plays.
too.
I mean, Philly special, we talked about as one of like 15 named plays in the history of the sport and having the Super Bowl. But this game is just like such a dominant performance. I'm with you. We'll remember dominance. We'll remember the way the D just owned their soul. We'll remember but I do think the Coop pick will be the play. By the way, I want to give a shout out to, because we've given so much love and all this. And I realized, and I said this on the radio this morning, but realized on this pod, the last two pods, we haven't said his name. And I talked a lot about Vic Fangio in 38 years now. Happy I am for him. And we've talked so much about Jalen and the guys on the team. And like he was one of the captains, and he doesn't get a lot of play because he plays a position where if they don't throw it at him, it's a good thing. But like, shout out to Darius Slay.
For sure.
Shout out, like, one of the captains. You've talked about the most beloved guy in the locker room outside of maybe BG. Played in Detroit, like, lost forever,
won a Super Bowl now.
Yeah, that's my point. Like, for him, like, at 34 years old, like, was really such a big part of this team. Like, I'm really happy for that guy. And it was like he kind of got lost in all the BG we mentioned all the players who kind of had moments and stuff. I'm really happy for Darius Slay. Again, he was one of the three captains. It was BG, him, and my lot.
Yeah, they walked out. Toss, So I don't think Slay is going to make the Hall of Fame, but like, he is closer to a Hall of Fame career, much closer than he is just a guy career.
Totally, without a doubt.
And like,
so he's not a Hall of Famer, but he has had a great career.
He has been a top 10 cornerback in the NFL
this old,
for a long time.
You don't see guys at 34 play at that
especially
level.
coming off last year. Yeah. So like, to win a Super Bowl for him, like, I don't think he'll retire. I don't.
He said he's not going to, but
he could.
If I'm him and BG, I'm out, man. I'm like, it's never gonna get better. And I understand why they don't. And I say this all the time, like, the money, and also just like
BG should not.
Also, you just have you have a very finite amount of time to do the thing that you're best at, the thing that we're born to do, like the thing you will always like, no matter. And like, every once in a while, someone becomes a better announcer than player or whatever. Right. But you know what I mean? Like Brandon Graham playing football will be the best thing he's ever at in his life.
Best skill.
So like. And it's like at the age of 34, 35, 36, whatever it is, it's like you get to never do that again in that real level of whatever. Like, so I never blame these guys if they want to keep doing the thing they're best at, the thing they love.
Yeah.
But like, if you're, especially Brandon, like, it's just like a fairy tale, the way to go out. Like, it's like so perfect.
I agree. So let me just say this too. If Brandon says to the Eagles, if you don't re-sign me, I am going to sign with Team X, the Eagles have to sign.
Oh, whatever costs.
Like,
I don't think he would do that.
It's more about the roster spot.
No, I know. My point is, I'm just saying, like, to your point.
I don't think he will either.
Well, whatever it costs, I would do. The point is, like, Brandon Graham can never play for another. It is more important to me that Brandon Graham never play for another team than anything else.
And because, look, this is maybe not the pod for it, but like, if I'm Brandon Graham and the Detroit Lions are willing to let me play for them, and you're from Detroit, and the Eagles are saying, we're not re-signing you, that is something, if I were him, I would consider. The Eagles need to make sure that does not happen.
Yeah.
You cannot have Brandon Graham signed for the biggest conference
and I don't
rival.
think it will happen.
I don't think it will either. But if
Brandon
he decides he wants to play,
yeah, you gotta
he's not going to go play for like Cleveland. He will do it where there's like it's Andy or something.
I don't think he would sign anywhere else because I don't think the Eagles.
But I think Detroit's the spot.
Yeah, I don't think the Eagles would let him. I don't think it's going to happen. I'm not too worried about it. I think he's going to retire. Like we had him on the air today, and he didn't say.
Right, so I wasn't.
Yeah, but like it felt like when he was talking about the decision, it felt like he was focusing more on the fairy tale ending.
Well, after the game, he was
on the, so
he after the game he said to me about the whole Jerome Bettis thing. I don't know if he brought that up again this morning, but Jerome Bettis obviously retired after he won the Super Bowl. So
I mean, like it can't go more perfect than that.
I agree.
So, and he did have a big injury that he came back from. That's part of, who knows?
Yeah.
But yeah, I like that's part of too the just as you kind of not just consume more content or more videos or whatever, you also as you just kind of stop and think more and process it and stuff. And I've just really like there's so many great stories.
Dude, we could
and
talk.
There's so many people.
I mean, we will all week.
There's just so many people I'm happy for,
yeah. Well, all right. So I have two more things I want to say before we get to final thoughts. One, I know.
That was the quickest 40 minutes.
Isn't it crazy?
Like what that I was like final thoughts.
Well, because we haven't really talked since
it's also only been 30 minutes.
Whatever. Quickest 30 minutes still.
We started late.
Yeah.
Still fast. One, like I think this is what it would have felt like if the team had won in 04. And I know there's a difference because that would have been the first one. But like there's no question what made this so special is watching this team struggle the last 2 years. In 17, that team hadn't struggled like the fan base had in the way that there had never been a Super Bowl that was won. So there was that feeling of like, it's been X amount of years and like, all the struggles like were attached to it. But that group of guys had never struggled the way that I think this team did. In 04, had they won it, it would have been, okay, so it makes up for 02, 03, like 01, right? I think the specialness of this is the perseverance of it.
Yeah, and to your point, it is losing to that exact same team 2 years ago and getting to revenge it in the Super Bowl, like totally. I mean, I think it's and the collapse, and I will say to your point here, that's something that Nick didn't really talk about during the season much, but after
clear door,
and after the game, it's like his go-to thing is like what happened last year built us. It shaped us, and but he was like, we're done with last year, moving on. And now he's like, we didn't really move on. We used it. But it's like been a talking point for him that like that forged them. What they did last year and going through that, coming back from it, helped shape and forge who they were and what they became. And that's
well, the line
powerful.
I keep thinking of is AJ when the whole passing controversy thing happened, when he said, we lost in 22.
Yeah, I just want to make us better. Yeah.
It's also kind of funny if you think about it. 02, 03, 04, 22, 23, 24.
Yeah.
20 years later.
Actually, yeah. Well, and dude, AJ, that interview where Sirianni was on with Berman and Alex Smith and those guys after the game, and then AJ walks over and he comes on and like, if you haven't had a chance, go back and watch it because everyone wants to consume everything we can. I'm not kidding. The love.
Dude, AJ loves Nick.
Dude, the love that AJ Brown has for Nick. Like, you could he was looking at him like he was his daughter or his father or whatever. Like he was like, you could feel it. Just go back and watch it. And why AJ comes up and like, he's just, even when Nick's talking, like Nick will be answering a question. AJ's looking at him like, yeah, like, I love you, man. I love you. Like you could feel his love for Nick. It like hit me so hard. Like, and by the way, it's like another guy. So happy, like AJ, he seems so truly happy.
Yes.
Like so happy to accomplish what he did. And he said it. He's a champion forever. You're damn right you are, buddy.
Well, I can't even tell you how many times AJ has defended Nick in the to the media, on and off, like just talking and on the record, like defending Nick in the locker room. He's always been a big Nick guy. But oh man, where was I going with this? Nick, AJ. Oh, all right. So I have another point, but it's not off of this. And then like we always talk about how much we love the fans and the listeners and all that. But like, let's pretend we didn't. And this is the first time, because I want to make sure I really drive this point home. The thing I will remember most from New Orleans is the fans, without question. The week of, the game, the Eagles players smacked the Chiefs around in that game. The Eagles fans dominated the Chiefs, like as a franchise. The Eagles in Philadelphia took that week over. They did it starting Sunday when I arrived. There was no Chiefs fans. There were already Eagles fans. They won Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And then what they did on Super Bowl Sunday is something I will never forget my whole career. The way they took that stadium over, it was a home game. Like I thought I've been to Super Bowls Eagles were in, and I remember thinking, wow, there's a lot of Eagles fans here. That was like being at the Link. Like they booed. Like, so there was a point in the game where I wasn't even sure the stadiums were open to fans yet. And Eagles players ran out, and there was a massive cheer.
You could hear it on TV.
Taylor Swift got booed. Like, it was.
You could hear it on TV, like when even from the beginning when Cooper, and shout out to Bradley Cooper, he nailed that.
He
nailed it. Like
spot,
nailed it. Like you could even hear when he did the Eagles chant, like hearing the crowd come in with it. Like it was so loud. It was like, that is nuts, man.
And the level of dominance the Eagles showed on the field,
was the level of dominance.
Yeah. It's exactly the same thing. Like, and you can't tell me it didn't fuel them too.
Dude, and you felt it. They've talked about it. And look, I'll say, like, bringing it back here, like, the thing that I'll remember most, and I'm sure this is part of it for you too, but of this whole run is this. This community is Drew from Westchester's call going off and listing,
epic, by the
Denmark and
Vancouver,
Tennessee and Vancouver and Phoenixville and Ocean City, and like going through all our people and all our callers and all this stuff. Like, it's special, man. The friendships made. Like Mike in New York was on today talking about Ed in Phoenixville was talking about he was late for his flight, or his flight was late coming home on Super Bowl Sunday, and he's on the phone with Justin in Tennessee talking about. I'm like, what is happening right now? Like, it means everything. That like, we're just excited that we get to talk to each other about the Eagles. Then we're excited that anyone listens. The fact that it's not just that, but that it's turned into a community where we've made friendships and we've helped create other friendships and we've connected people with a communal love of the same thing. Like I know it's hokey, but that's freaking beautiful.
I agree.
Like, that is a beautiful thing.
Well, and I think too, to the way the players persevered through a lot, like, it's been a tough 2 year for fans. It's not fun to lose a Super Bowl. It's not fun to watch your team collapse. And like, think of how many Jalen and Nick fans out there, like people that like love Jalen and have had to watch this guy get just like blasted through the media.
Yeah.
Like, same with Nick, same for whoever. AJ, right? AJ gets called a distraction. And like, they all, like, everybody over these past few days and on Sunday had the ultimate party and the ultimate like FU moment, right? Like, the Eagles fans are always told they're not good enough. That was like, I can't imagine there's ever been a better Super Bowl crowd.
No,
like, we're going to talk about the Eagles'
and also
performance
just
on
that
the
we're
field.
never dominant enough. We're never, like, even 2017, like, we love the team. They kicked the Patriots ass. They deserved it. But like, I think nationally, most people look at that as a fluke. Like, we went with a backup quarterback. We know it wasn't a fluke, but like, that's the way it's perceived. Like, we're never the team that nationally people are saying, like, all-time great stuff going on here. Like, this is what they did is amazing. Like, we never get that.
I agree. And so I just felt like, I just think that's the thing I feel the most. It's just like a happiness for everyone.
Yeah.
The fans, the players, like, it's
just like it with Nick too, right?
Yeah.
Just like, again, I think in all the post-game stuff I've watched with Nick, I think I've heard him say the word love 8,000 times.
Yep.
Because it's been his whole message. He's like, it's all about love. It's about love each other, fighting for the guy next to you. But that's what this fan base is about. It's about loving each other and loving this team and loving the same thing.
Right.
And like putting our love into that. And when you can get this joy, this ultimate joy from that thing, and like that love can kind of take over a city and rise everything up. It's, again, I keep going back to Drew's call, but it's because it was so great.
Yeah.
But he's right. Like, it's not a magic elixir, but this is something that can lift people up, whether you're going through something or not, just period. It can lift an area, a group up together.
Well, and the thing too, like,
that's the best of sports.
Like, the NFL always gets called like a copycat league. Like, you can copy a scheme. Like, you can't copy what the Eagles have built. Like, you just can't. You can't spend an offseason and be like, hey, we're going to decide to value like family and love,
connectivity.
Right. You can't all of a sudden be like, hey, guess what? We're going to connect more. Like,
we're going to
you
draft
can
a bunch
try
of guys in the same college.
Exactly. And we're going to teach people that are tough. Like,
it's
way easier to watch like what Mike McDaniel's scheme is and be like, okay, here's how he does it.
Yeah,
like, that's pretty, but it's tougher to do that. So
point,
yeah. So
such a great. So we get. I was going to say we could do this for days. Well, guess what? We're gonna.
Oh yeah, that's why we need multiple more days.
Thursday at 10, and then we're all gonna freaking celebrate at the parade. We already know like a bunch of people coming down. CJ in Texas is flying up.
Oh, is he? Nice.
I believe Corey in Columbus is. Flying
I got to
in.
meet Corey. Corey's.
We gotta get something together. Meet whoever we can. We will be down there. I know it's chaos, but it's gonna be. Zoe and Emily are gonna come down. Like, it's gonna
be fun.
Zoe's going to love it. Like a championship parade is like, me, right? I mean, she's a little me. She is we call her mini me in our house.
Right.
Like, Zoe is going to be on cloud.
Poor Emily.
It's going to be, I know. I know. Poor Em.
All right.
Should we get your final thoughts?
All right. So I have an airplane one.
Okay, good.
But it's not a changing in the airplane revolutionary way.
Good.
So
I don't feel like arguing.
So first of all, I don't respect boarding in group numbers.
Oh, I know. So for those who don't know, Eliot
I will just board.
To it. I know. I was with you when we went to Dallas together.
Yes.
You were like, I think it was like group 7 or whatever. And you're like, yeah, I am too, but I'm just going to board. And I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. So
I just go. I don't look. And you were right. If you like folded a certain way or whatever, they didn't look.
Well, it doesn't say on the screen what group you're in.
Exactly.
But so I will respect up to group 3, I will say. But once I get to 4, I'm good. But here's one thing I do feel strongly about. And I recognize the hypocrisy here, but I don't care.
Love it.
If we're in group 5 or 6 and you are in group 1, but you're just getting there, I don't think you get to cut in line. You lost your privilege. If you
once they've already called
they've called your number.
I agree. If you're in line already, like I agree with you. Now I think that you can go before 7 and stuff.
No. I think so. Let's say
my point is like if it's 5, 6, let's say it's 5. Okay. And they call 5 and the people in 5 line up and you're 1 and you get there. I think you can get back of 5 and go before.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
But
you can join. You can join the next group. Exactly.
But you can't get in front of it.
That's
crazy.
I hate when I'm in line and someone comes up. It's like, oh, I'm group 2, and everyone has to sit there and wait.
Don't bleep yourself.
Like you should have been on time.
Yeah.
And here's the other one, and I'll combine. I had these as 2, but I'm just gonna do it as the same one. I hate when people, when they first get on a plane, they put their bag up front, but then they're in row like 22. It throws everything off. I got on the plane yesterday. I was in row 7. And all the luggage at the front was full. So I had to walk all the way back to the plane.
This is nonsense.
Put my bag up.
What are you doing? Like, what are you people doing?
I had to put my bag up, and then I had to sit in the back of the plane until everybody boarded, and then I had to walk back up to my row.
Honestly, the people people should go to jail for this.
It's like
that's how
the whole system. They really need to hire me to rebuild the whole thing.
It's hire someone.
But yeah, but they do. But then at the end of the plane ride, I had to sit in my seat and wait for everybody to get off so that I could walk to the back of the plane and get my bag. It was ludicrous.
I feel bad for you.
So I
think these are great points.
I'm gonna think of the perfect airplane system.
I'm happy that we're on the same page.
We're clearly never doing the curse word pod. The next pod might be fixing the air. We'll have on the Zach.
We might not be able to talk about.
Yeah, we obviously can't. We could say like FB.
We could do it not on YouTube, I guess.
Yeah,
like do a special we'll fix.
Well, we'll do a pod where I fix the airplane system.
Okay, I think people are very.
We have lots of good off-season ideas.
Yes,
we won't do
like how about talking about a championship team all off-season? Exactly. I could do that every day. All right, so I got to talk to Brandon Graham today.
Okay,
we had him on. Remember last time I told you when I spoke to Nick, I told him I was bleeping hungry.
Final thought. Brandon says he's signing with the Browns.
It was just it was pretty neat to be able to tell Brandon what he has done means to us. And I know I'm speaking for a lot of people.
Yes.
But I got to tell him, like, here, quick, you can hear it.
So is this on air?
So this is Zoe on, hold on, here we go. Oh, you can't hear it? Okay.
But I'm just, wait, is this on air or is this just like YouTube
No, this
talking?
is before we go on.
You're just
this is Zoe the night of the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
She's yelling "Go Birds" at this moment.
Brandon Graham jersey for those that
Brandon
can't
Graham
see.
jersey.
Yeah.
So, like, I got to tell Brandon that I got to watch the Super Bowl with my daughter in his jersey, and, she wasn't alive the last time they won. And I was like, Brandon, you got to give millions of people moments like that for the rest of their lives, it's going to be some of the best moments of their life. And it was an honor to be able to, not that he doesn't know that already,
right,
but to be able to say that and to thank him and to let him know how important he is to this city. I mean, like we talked about the Mount Rushmore, like I think arguably Brandon Graham first face, like him and Howie. I don't know what you want to do, but like I think arguably like Brandon Graham is Mr. Eagle.
I think there's an argument. I always thought it was Jason Kelsey. But I think there's an argument it's Brandon.
Most games, 2 titles on the comeback,
and he has the exact same off the field thing Jason does.
Yeah, exactly. And he's the most wonderful human you'll ever meet. He's such a great person. I just want to share with everyone that I thought it was super cool that I got the opportunity to like thank Brandon Graham for all that he's done for this city. It's just really neat.
And the other cool thing too, like with our job, we get to be around these people. Like, I get to tell Nick, congrats. Like,
that I can't wait till I'm on the show. I'm gonna say that similar type.
It's gonna be a late hit because you're gonna.
I'm gonna be like, Nick, why don't we party?
Exactly.
Like, let's go.
Sirianni Island party, maybe.
Oh,
I feel like Nick would come.
Sirianni Island is my favorite.
But what's cool about Nick Brandon?
If we could,
I agree. Do it around where he lives. Yeah. I think Brandon, just from my time being around him, like everything you feel, I think Brandon feels the way of what Philly's given him.
Totally.
Because when I see him at events, like he will stand, dude. He does the Brandon Graham show for an hour every single week during season, and he stands and signs autograph for an hour after.
I mean, you saw it yesterday
every
with all
single
the
time.
Airport stuff and all that. I'm coming back, by the way, Lombardi Trophy in Philadelphia. Love to see it. But like, you know, it was like basically coming off the thing, and then it was like people cheering for them. But like Brandon, there was a video of Brandon who's the one who put his window down when he's driving by, was high-fiving everyone. Like he just, like to your point, he gets it more than maybe anyone who's ever been here. Like he just gets that, like that these fans love and care for him so much and care about this team so much that he is willing to give of himself and his time so much to, like, because he knows what it means to people.
For sure.
That's super special. I've been here for 15 years.
Super. Good word.
Super.
For this week.
Oh, I'm so happy, dude. I'm so happy.
A super week. Yeah.
Oh, I'm so happy you're back. I'm happy we get to celebrate together. We're doing a parade on Friday.
Amen.
Dude. All right. We'll be back tomorrow. So, oh, by the way, date 37. Do we have?
I know. I was thinking
weird number.
Zach McPherson. Is that a good one?
I mean, it's
I'm not positive he was 37.
Well, because he was 27 and he had to give it up, right? Wasn't he 27?
Did Quinion wear 37 in training camp?
Maybe. I knew that 27 was Zach and they had to give it up for.
Oh, 27. You're right.
Yeah.
Marcus Epps wore 37 for 1 year.
Okay. I was going to say he was 22 in the Super Bowl.
In the Super Bowl, yeah.
Jalen Watkins. Remember Jalen Watkins?
That's what I was thinking of.
Florida.
When I was thinking Zach McPherson, I was thinking.
Which is a similar to everything. 4th round.
Yeah.
And of course, who could forget Tom Woodchick from
everybody?
1963.
Tom Woodchick.
Hope all is well.
3,500 career yards, 21 touchdowns. No big deal.
There should be some better threes.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, it's weird too. I was about to say, what about Inter Excellence?
Ooh, I have a good 38. I have a good 38.
Okay, good. Save it for tomorrow. We'll be
I
back.
hope I don't forget.
Day 38, which will be awesome. It is crazy. 37 straight.
It is crazy.
It is crazy. All right. We love you all. I am gonna tell so many freaking strangers I love them on Friday. I'm gonna hug so many strangers. I can't wait. It's gonna be so awesome. And not strangers and all. Yeah, parade. This is my thing.
Yes.
I can't wait. All right. So we'll talk to everyone tomorrow. Thanks to Tucker as always. Just superhero.
Crushing it.
Superhero stuff from him. All right. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Until